woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal.
We're still waiting for accountability on the whole Russia collusion made-up story.
Yes.
Now that DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, has released all of those classified documents, we're actually seeing who was behind all of this. Do you want to see indictments?
I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law.
Few figures showcase political collapse quite like Hillary Clinton, and J.D. Vance tears that record apart piece by piece. Along with Megyn Kelly, he exposes how Clinton's endless excuses, staged reinvention, and obsession with destiny made her the symbol of political entitlement. She wasn't a trailblazer, she was a cautionary tale. Despite every advantage, she lost to Donald Trump and still refused to step aside. Her legacy isn't about making history. It's about becoming history's punchline. And Kelly and Vance, make sure no one forgets it.
To me, this seems so fucking blatantly political. Forgive me, sorry. And it's upsetting me.
What is going on?
It's just disgusting, Arthur. The Hillary Clinton juxtaposition is the most compelling one. She scrubbed her servers. She destroyed her cell phones. She had classified information that she did not turn over. And Comey came out and said, "There's."
To consider, just yesterday, one of the chief surrogates of of Kamala Harris's campaign is Hillary Clinton. And you know what Hillary Clinton said yesterday? She said that misinformation should be met with criminal penalties. That we ought to throw people in jail and silence them if they say something that
Hillary Clinton is the political ghost that refuses to leave the stage. Megyn Kelly rips into her legacy with surgical precision, stripping away the carefully scripted image to reveal just how hollow it always was. Clinton was sold as inevitable, the chosen heir, the glass ceiling breaker, the queen of American politics. Instead, she became the poster child for political failure, the candidate who managed to lose even when every rule in the game was bent to her advantage.
Clinton is back, doing a late night tour. She had some thoughts on this boiling down to Trump versus Biden again.
Over yourself. Those are the two choices.
Yeah, love that.
Right? And
Good.
you know, one is old and effective and compassionate, has a heart, and really cares about people. And one is old and has been charged with 91 felonies.
Megyn Kelly sees comedy in Hillary Clinton's endless struggle to look authentic. Every reinvention felt less like a person evolving and more like a marketing campaign on overdrive. She was the Wall Street centrist when the checks were flowing, the feminist warrior when college kids were marching, the soft-spoken grandmother when suburban women needed wooing, and the identity politics champion when progressives grabbed the mic. The problem, on paper, she was all of these things, yet in reality, none. Every persona looked rented, every slogan field-tested, every laugh rehearsed. Kelly nails her as less a leader and more a laboratory experiment in political.
Decided to weigh in on this snub. Greta and Margot, while it can sting to win the box office but not take home the gold, your millions of fans love you. You're both so much more than Keno. Is that a reference to the movie? I didn't see it. And then here's the capper. At the end, hashtag Hillary Barbie. She's trying to make that a thing. Some of the reaction online to this, I love this. Clearly, Greta and Margot should have campaigned in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Vance goes straight for the jugular, framing Hillary Clinton as the pure embodiment of political entitlement. To her, the presidency wasn't something to earn, it was something owed. Not because of bold ideas or a compelling vision, but simply because she had lingered in the halls of power long enough to demand her turn. Vance skewers her for treating politics like a monarchy, where marriage to Bill was supposed to guarantee eventual coronation. She didn't campaign like a leader asking for votes. She carried herself like a queen scolding subjects for failure.
Look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks. I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence by defrauding the American people, defrauding the...
Kelly zeroes in on the comedy of Hillary Clinton's never-ending excuse tour. After losing to Donald Trump in 2016, Hillary set off on what felt like the world's longest blame parade, pointing fingers at Russia. Sexism, Facebook memes, James Comey, even the weather. Everyone was at fault except Hillary. Kelly roasts her for treating accountability like a foreign language. In Hillary's world, she was always the smartest in the room, a victim of history, misunderstood by the masses, and undone by shadowy forces. The one explanation that never made her list: that her own arrogance, dishonesty, and lack of charisma might have sunk her all on their own.
Puts out this tweet, and it's a picture of her, a much younger Hillary, and the caption on the hat reads, "But her emails." And she writes in her tweet, "Bringing this back in light of recent news. Get a limited edition But Her Emails hat and support Onward Together groups working to strengthen our democracy." The nerve of this woman to have committed federal crimes and to have gotten off because James Comey didn't have the spine to...
Deeper. Exposing how Hillary Clinton's career became a case study in elite hypocrisy. She claimed to fight for the working class while cashing checks from the Wall Street executives who gutted middle America. She posed as a champion of women while smearing the women who accused Bill Clinton of misconduct. She preached climate change alarm while jetting around the globe on private planes. Her entire brand rested on moral superiority, but her record was a trail of contradictions that shredded every slogan she plastered on a campaign sign. Megyn Kelly doesn't miss the comedy in Hillary's desperate attempts to seem relatable. Every stunt backfired, whether it was carrying hot sauce in her purse or dabbing on Ellen. She came off less like a leader and more like the cringy aunt trying too hard to be cool at the family reunion. Kelly skewers her as a multimillionaire, so far removed from normal life that pretending to be just like us wasn't just fake, it was downright insulting to voters. Intelligence.11
would take something that supported a Hillary Clinton campaign talking point and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took anything that actually contradicted that narrative and they buried it deep, and through that they actually laundered Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points through the American intelligence services. That's a violation of the people's trust. That's a violation of what our intelligence services should be doing, and I absolutely think they broke the law. You're going to see a lot of people get in.
J.D. Vance leans on his middle America roots to spotlight Hillary Clinton's glaring disconnect. Her speeches about working-class families rang hollow in communities she barely bothered to visit. What she called empathy was really just focus-grouped talking points filtered through consultants, donors, and elite fundraisers. Vance casts her as the textbook coastal elitistan, Ivy League product who looked at flyover country like it was another planet. That's why, no matter how much money or media backing she had, she could never spark genuine enthusiasm. Megyn Kelly drives the irony home. Hillary Clinton had everything a politician could possibly want: universal name recognition, decades of experience, an army of operatives, Barack Obama's blessing, a bottomless war chest, and the near-total support of the media and cultural elites. And yet she still lost to Donald Trump, who had none of those advantages. Kelly frames it not as bad luck, but as a damning verdict on Hillary herself. You don't lose with that much firepower unless you are simply bad at politics.
Of course, is the original election denier.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
She came out to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate.
She didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president.
Okay. She
done.
came out that night.
She
in
conceded
her
the
dark
election
purple,
and then spent the next 4 years trying to convince us it was not legitimate.
You can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen.
Kelly widens the lens, framing Hillary Clinton not just as a failed candidate but as the symbol of a failed system. She embodied the arrogance of elites who thought they could manufacture consent, who believed voters were obligated to accept her simply because the establishment had chosen her. But 2016 shattered that illusion, leaving Hillary as the monument to to its collapse. Instead of becoming the first woman president, she became the living proof that inevitability in politics is a myth. And she refuses to fade. Every few months, Hillary drifts back into the spotlight with a new critique, a fresh complaint, or another hint that she should have been president. It's less of a comeback and more of a haunting. She's the guest who won't leave the party nursing a drink in the corner, reminding everyone of her glory days. The tragedy, as Kelly notes, is that the more Hillary insists she was right, the more she proves herself wrong. At this point, she's less a politician than a parody of one, clinging to relevance while the world shrugs and moves on
why she lost. And just in case you were thinking it was because she didn't go to Wisconsin, you are wrong. It is you, women of America. It is your fault. She now sits down for an interview and decides that the reason she didn't win is American females. That they didn't like that she wasn't.
J.D. Vance sharpens the knife by putting Hillary Clinton in historical context. He likens her to leaders who mistook power for destiny, only to be undone by their own hubris. Hillary's collapse wasn't about resources. She had more than anyone. Her fatal flaw was authenticity, or rather, the lack of it. Vance argues that in modern politics, voters can forgive almost anything: scandal, controversy, even failure, but they will not forgive phoniness. And Hillary radiated phoniness in every speech, every ad, every staged photo op. Voters didn't just reject her, they rejected what she represented: entitlement, arrogance, and elitism masquerading as leadership. Megyn Kelly takes the scalpel to Hillary's feminist branding. Clinton tried to market herself as the ultimate champion for women, but her record told a different story. She smeared Bill's accusers, stayed silent on abuses within her own circle, and only spoke up when outrage was politically convenient. The result was a hollow slogan, not a movement. Kelly skewers her for treating feminism like a prop, something to wield when useful and discard when inconvenient. For women seeking a genuine role model, Hillary didn't inspire.
Should really bother the American people. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want them to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It is sick and it's disgusting. It hurt the intelligence community, it hurt the American people, and it hurt the first Trump administration.
Kelly closes the roast by pointing to Hillary Clinton's so-called legacy, or more accurately, the absence of one. Decades in politics, endless headlines, countless appearances, yet what remains? Not landmark reforms, not unifying leadership, not even a clear vision for the future. What remains is the story of a politician who believed the presidency was owed to her, and who still, years later, refuses to accept that voters said otherwise. Polished, funded, or media-approved, is destined to collapse under its own weight. Together, Kelly and Vance dismantle Hillary, not just as a failed candidate, but as a failed idea. The idea that power belongs to elites. That branding can replace authenticity. That destiny is stronger than democracy. Her career was built on all three. And all three crumbled spectacularly. And so the roast leaves Hillary right where she's been since 2016, and the outside looking in, convinced history got it wrong, while the rest of the world laughs at the irony of the woman who had everything, and ended up
Way had the power to declassify, unlike Hillary. And he looks like he's regaining steam to recapture this nomination. He's got to be charged, and it looks like he's probably going to be charged in Georgia too. That's the third. That would be the third indictment, and Jack Smith may have a fourth indictment up his sleeve because he's investigating him for Jan 6th.
The strangest part of Hillary Clinton's story is how she still speaks as if the country is secretly waiting for her return. J.D. Vance mocks the delusion, noting how Hillary treats every speech, podcast, and interview like an audition for a role nobody is casting. She doesn't hear the laughter that trails her reinventions. She convinces herself that repeating the same lines louder and longer will somehow bend history to her will. But history doesn't reward persistence without authenticity, it punishes it. Hillary is the proof. Vance draws a sharp line between ambition and obsession. Ambition can build nations. Obsession destroys reputations. Hillary crossed that line years ago. She's no longer chasing the presidencies, she's chasing validation. Every excuse, every book, every carefully staged appearance isn't about politics anymore. It's about convincing herself she deserved what voters refused to give her. In the end, her post-2016 career looks less like statesmanship and more like an endless Public Therapy Session 1, where the entire world is forced to sit through.
If you're willing, my friends, if you are willing to throw a person in jail because you disagree with what they say, then you're going to be willing to put a bullet in their head too. So the Democrats, I call on every leader in this country, not just tone down the rhetoric, but tone down the censorship. Let's have a debate with one another. That's what Americans do. Stop trying to silence people you disagree with. And I think if we have that debate, if we have that conversation, I really believe that the American people are going to make Donald J. Trump the next president of the United States. But it's not going to happen.
Uses her cutting humor to rip apart the narrative of Hillary Clinton as a victim of sexism. Was there sexism in politics? Sure. But as Kelly points out, sexism didn't force Hillary to cozy up to Wall Street. It didn't make her delete thousands of emails. It didn't stop her from campaigning in Wisconsin and Michigan. And it certainly didn't compel her to laugh off scandals with the smug tone of someone out of touch. Those weren't forces beyond her control, they were her choices, her flaws, and her consequences. Reducing it all to sexism isn't just dishonest, it insults the intelligence of women who expected better from her. J.D. Vance pushes the argument further, framing Hillary's defeat as bigger than one election. It wasn't just about 2016. It was a referendum on a political style Americans had grown to despise. The era of consultant-crafted candidates, armed with poll-tested slogans and focus-grouped soundbites, was on its last legs, and Hillary was the final overpacked product of that broken system. When voters picked Donald Trump, they weren't simply rejecting Hillary Clinton, they were rejecting the entire establishment she embodied. As Vance hammers home, Hillary wasn't the victim of bad luck. She was the perfect symbol of everything the public wanted to burn.
Her op-ed, which is really pretty spectacular in the New York Times. First of all, my team just showed me this. Have you seen the cover for her new book? It's something lost, something gained. Gained is with a Freudian slip. And I like the amount of retouching on this face I haven't seen since, Joan Rivers had her 15th surgery. God love Joan. I don't know what she's trying to be with this soft focus. My executive producer, Steve Krakauer, is like, she looks nothing like her.
Megyn Kelly mocks Hillary Clinton's strange obsession with staying relevant. Every time a political crisis hits, Hillary pops up with an "I told you so" tone as if anyone were asking for her input. She wants to be the voice of wisdom, but instead she comes off like the person who won't leave the group chat, constantly dropping commentary no one bothers to read. Kelly twists the knife by noting that Hillary has slipped from serious political figure to internet meme remembered, more for awkward soundbites and humiliating failures than for any real achievements. J.D. Vance closes the takedown by focusing on Hillary's legacy. Not the first woman president, but the woman who proved inevitability is a myth. She had everything: money, name recognition, media backing, a political machine, but none of it could hide her inability to connect with voters who saw through the act. Her story now stands as a warning to future politicians. You can't fake authenticity, you can't demand destiny, and if you treat leadership like a birthright, the people will